What if I told you that one single day could change your life? Not because something extraordinary happens, but because it's the day everyone starts watching. Your coworkers, your manager, your future friends, and maybe even the people who will help shape your career. The first day at work can be exciting, it can be uncomfortable, and honestly, it can be terrifying. You want to make a good impression. You don't want to make mistakes. You don't want to feel lost. Yet almost everyone feels exactly the same way. So grab your coffee, sit back, relax, and listen carefully until the end. Because today, we're exploring one of the most relatable experiences in adult life. The first day at work, the nervous moments, the unexpected lessons, the mistakes, the victories, and the simple habits that can turn a stressful first day into the beginning of something great. Let's begin with the night before, when excitement meets anxiety. Before we begin, let me tell you something. Many people spend years learning English but never become confident speakers because they're missing a clear system and the right support. That's exactly why I created the Native Flow English Coaching Experience. And right now, it's only $5. Honestly, you'll probably spend more than that on coffee, snacks, or things you'll forget about tomorrow. But improving your English, that can open new opportunities, new friendships, new jobs, and new experiences for years to come. For just $5, you'll get access to video lessons, books, worksheets, WhatsApp support, and our private learning community. If you're serious about taking your English to the next level, click the link in the description and join us today. Now, let's get started. The night before, when excitement meets anxiety. The first day at work actually begins long before you enter the office. It begins the night before. And honestly, that's often when the worrying starts. Imagine lying in bed, trying to sleep, but your mind refuses to relax. Questions begin appearing one after another. What should I wear? What if I arrive late? What if I forget someone's name? What if I make a bad first impression? What if I don't fit in? And honestly, if you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. Almost everyone experiences some level of anxiety before starting a new job. Even confident people, even experienced professionals, even managers, because every new beginning comes with uncertainty. Now, here's something interesting. Most people are not actually afraid of the job itself. They're afraid of the unknown. The human brain loves certainty. It likes knowing what will happen, who will be there, what to expect. But on the night before your first day, you know almost none of those things. And that's why your imagination starts working overtime. Now imagine two people starting the same job. One person spends the entire night imagining disasters. The other spends the night preparing calmly. The first person arrives exhausted. The second arrives confident. The difference isn't the job. The difference is their mindset. Now let's talk about preparation. Because preparation is one of the best ways to reduce anxiety. Before your first day, you can prepare your clothes. Check your route. Set multiple alarms. Review any information the company provided. These small actions create a sense of control. And honestly, sometimes a little preparation can eliminate a lot of stress. Now here's a mistake many people make. They try to be perfect. They tell themselves, I can't make any mistakes. I need to impress everyone immediately. I have to know everything. But honestly, that's impossible. You're new. Nobody expects perfection. People understand that you're learning, and most reasonable coworkers remember their own first day. Now imagine a new employee who already knows everything, asks no questions, needs no help. That person probably doesn't exist because learning is part of the process. And honestly, good employers expect questions. Now let's talk about expectations. Many people imagine their first day will be dramatic, that they'll instantly become part of the team, instantly feel comfortable, instantly know what they're doing. Real life rarely works that way. Most first days are much simpler. You meet people, learn names, complete paperwork, receive information, and gradually begin understanding your new environment. That's normal. Now here's something powerful to remember. You don't need to prove your value in one day. Your career won't be decided by your first morning, or your first conversation, or your first week. Great reputations are built over time. One interaction at a time, one task at a time, one day at a time. And honestly, that should feel reassuring. Now imagine looking back 1 year later. The things that seem terrifying tonight may seem funny in the future. The people who are strangers today may become your closest colleagues. The office that feels unfamiliar may eventually feel comfortable. Everything starts somewhere, and every experienced professional was once a beginner. Now, before we finish this section, I want you to remember something important. Feeling nervous before your first day isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you care. It means this opportunity matters to you. And honestly, that's a good thing, because growth often begins right outside your comfort zone. Tomorrow, you'll walk through a new door, meet new people, and start a new chapter. And that chapter begins with one simple step: showing up. Walking through the door, the first hours that everyone remembers. The morning has arrived, the alarm rings, you get ready, you leave home, and suddenly, everything feels real. The job is no longer something in the future, it's happening now. And honestly, for many people, the walk from the parking lot, the bus stop, or the building entrance to the office door is one of the most nervous moments of the entire experience. Your heart beats a little faster. Your mind starts asking questions again. What happens next? Who will I meet first? Will people like me? But then something interesting happens. You walk through the door, and reality begins replacing imagination. Now imagine arriving at reception. Someone greets you. Maybe they smile. Maybe they ask your name. Maybe they tell you where to go. The process begins. And honestly, that first friendly interaction often makes people feel much better because suddenly the workplace feels less intimidating. It starts feeling human. Now let's talk about first impressions. Because many people worry too much about them. They think every word must be perfect. Every answer must be brilliant. Every interaction must be impressive. But honestly, most people are not looking for perfection. They're looking for professionalism, politeness, and a positive attitude, a simple smile, a respectful greeting, a willingness to learn. These things matter much more than trying to appear perfect. Now imagine meeting your manager for the first time. You shake hands, exchange a few words, maybe receive a tour of the workplace. At this moment, many new employees are worried about saying the wrong thing. But here's the truth. Your manager probably understands exactly how you feel. They've seen new employees before, many of them. And honestly, they know first-day nerves are completely normal. Now let's talk about names, because this is one of the biggest challenges. You meet one person, then another, and suddenly you've heard 10 names in 10 minutes. Trying to remember everyone immediately can feel impossible. And honestly, that's okay. Most people don't remember every name on the first day. The important thing is making an effort. People appreciate effort. Now here's a useful lesson. When you're new, listen more than you speak. Observe, learn, pay attention. Notice how people communicate. Notice the workplace culture. Notice the expectations. The first day is not only about introducing yourself, it's also about understanding your environment. Now imagine being introduced to your team. Some people seem confident, others seem quiet. Some are very friendly, others are focused on their work. At first, everyone feels unfamiliar, but that's normal. Every friendship starts with strangers. Every team starts with introductions. And honestly, relationships take time to develop. Now, let's talk about mistakes, because almost everyone makes one on their first day. Maybe you go to the wrong room, maybe you misunderstand an instruction, maybe you forget someone's name, maybe you ask a question that seems obvious later, and honestly, none of these things matter very much. What matters is your attitude. People are usually very forgiving when someone is new. They expect small mistakes. They expect learning. They expect adjustment. Now, here's something important. The first day is not a test you either pass or fail. It's the beginning of a learning process, a process that may last weeks or months. So instead of trying to know everything, focus on learning something. Every conversation, every task, every piece of information helps. Now imagine lunchtime arrives. Many new employees feel nervous again. Where should I sit? Should I join people? What if nobody talks to me? But honestly, this is often where connections begin. Simple conversations, simple introductions, simple questions. Sometimes future friendships start during that very first lunch break. Now, before we finish this section, I want you to remember something important. The people around you are not expecting perfection. They're expecting a new colleague, someone willing to learn, someone willing to contribute, someone willing to grow. And honestly, that's enough. Because the goal of the first day isn't to prove that you belong. The goal is simply to begin. And sometimes beginning is the hardest step of all. Finding your place. The challenges of the first week. The first day is over. You made it. You survived the introductions, the meetings, the nerves, the uncertainty, and honestly, most people leave their first day feeling relieved. But then something interesting happens. The first week begins. And this is where the real challenge starts, because now you're no longer simply meeting people. You're becoming part of the team. Now imagine arriving on your second day. Things feel slightly more familiar. You recognize a few faces, you know where to sit, you understand some basic routines, but there's still a lot you don't know. And honestly, that's completely normal. The first week is often filled with confusion, new systems, new procedures, new expectations, new responsibilities. Sometimes it feels like information is coming from every direction at once. Now, here's something important. Many new employees secretly believe they're learning too slowly. They watch experienced coworkers perform tasks effortlessly, and they think, why can't I do that? Why am I still confused? Everyone else seems to understand everything. But honestly, that's an illusion. Those experienced coworkers were once beginners too. The difference is simple. They've had time, weeks, months, maybe years. You cannot compare your first week to someone else's fifth year. Now let's talk about questions, because some new employees become afraid to ask them. They worry about looking inexperienced. They worry about appearing unprepared. They worry about annoying people. But honestly, good questions are often a sign of professionalism. Asking questions shows you're paying attention. It shows you care about doing things correctly. It shows you're engaged. Most managers would rather answer a question than fix a mistake caused by silence. Now imagine receiving your first real assignment. Suddenly things become more serious. This isn't training anymore. This is actual work. And honestly, many people feel nervous. They want to do a good job. They want to prove themselves. They want to show they deserve the opportunity. But here's the truth. Nobody expects mastery during your first week. They expect progress. And those are very different things. Now let's talk about confidence. Because confidence during the first week often comes and goes. One day you feel great. The next day you feel lost. One task goes perfectly, another feels impossible. And honestly, this emotional roller coaster is completely normal. Learning something new rarely follows a straight line. Growth looks messy. Progress looks messy. Success often looks messy in the beginning. Now here's something fascinating. The people who adapt fastest are not always the smartest people. They're often the most curious, the most open, the most willing to learn. They don't pretend to know everything. They focus on improving every day. And honestly, that mindset is incredibly powerful. Now imagine the end of your first week. You know more names, you understand more processes, you feel slightly more comfortable. The office no longer feels completely unfamiliar. You're beginning to find your place, not because you've mastered everything, but because you're becoming part of the environment. Now let's talk about relationships. Because work is not only about tasks, it's also about people. During your first week, you'll begin discovering different personalities. Some coworkers are outgoing, some are quiet, some enjoy helping others, some prefer focusing on their responsibilities. Learning how to work with different personalities is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. And honestly, it often matters as much as technical ability. Now here's a powerful lesson. Don't try to impress everyone. Instead, focus on being reliable. Reliable people earn trust. Reliable people earn respect. Reliable people become valuable. Over time, those qualities matter far more than trying to appear impressive. Now, before we finish this section, I want you to remember something important. The first week is not about proving yourself. It's about learning, growing, and adapting. You don't need all the answers. You don't need to know everything. You simply need to keep moving forward because little by little, day by day, you stop feeling like the new person and start feeling like you belong. The lessons nobody tells you. What your first job teaches about life. When people think about their first job, they usually think about the salary, the tasks, the schedule, the office, the position. But honestly, the most important lessons have nothing to do with the job itself. They have to do with life. Because your first job teaches things that no school can fully teach. Now imagine your first few months at work. At first, you think you're learning a profession, and you are. But you're also learning responsibility, discipline, patience, communication, and self-management. Lessons that will stay with you long after that first job ends. Now let's talk about responsibility. Because for many people, their first job is the first time they're fully accountable for something. If you arrive late, it affects others. If you miss a deadline, it affects others. If you do excellent work, it helps others. And honestly, that realization changes the way many people see themselves. You begin understanding that your actions have consequences beyond yourself. Now, here's another lesson nobody talks about. You learn that nobody knows everything. As children, many of us imagine adults have all the answers. Then we enter the workplace, and suddenly we discover something surprising. Managers ask questions. Experienced employees make mistakes. Experts continue learning. And honestly, that's one of the most valuable discoveries you can make because it teaches humility and it teaches confidence at the same time. Now let's talk about communication because many workplace problems are not caused by lack of intelligence. They're caused by misunderstandings. People assume. People avoid difficult conversations. People fail to ask questions. And honestly, learning how to communicate clearly becomes one of the most valuable skills you'll ever develop. Now imagine two employees. One is highly talented but difficult to work with. The other is skilled, respectful, reliable, and communicates well. Over time, which one do you think people enjoy working with more? Usually the second, because success is often a team effort. Now here's something fascinating. Your first job teaches patience, and not the kind of patience people talk about. Real patience. The patience of learning slowly, improving gradually, and understanding that meaningful growth takes time. At first, you want immediate confidence, immediate mastery, immediate success. But life rarely works that way. The people you admire today became skilled through repetition, experience, and time. Now let's talk about mistakes, because your first job teaches a lesson you'll carry forever. Mistakes are not the end of the world. At first, every mistake feels enormous. You replay it in your head. You worry about it. You overthink it. But eventually, you realize something important. Most mistakes can be corrected. Most setbacks can be overcome. Most embarrassing moments are quickly forgotten. And honestly, that realization is incredibly freeing. Now imagine looking back years later. You probably won't remember every task, every meeting, every email, but you'll remember how you felt. You'll remember the nervousness, the excitement, the uncertainty, the first friendships, the first successes, the first challenges. And honestly, those memories become part of your story. Now here's perhaps the biggest lesson of all. Your first job teaches you that confidence is earned, not given. Confidence doesn't appear on your first day. It appears after you've handled challenges, solved problems, learned from mistakes, and proven to yourself that you're capable. Little by little, day by day, experience by experience. Now think about who you were before you started. Then think about who you've become after learning new skills, meeting new people, facing new challenges. You're no longer the same person. Growth has already begun. And honestly, that's the real reward. Not the paycheck, not the title, not the position, the growth. Now, before we finish this episode, I want you to remember something important. Nobody starts a new job feeling completely ready. Nobody begins with complete confidence. Nobody arrives knowing everything. Every experienced professional was once nervous. Every expert was once a beginner. Every successful career started with a first day. So if you're starting something new, be patient with yourself. Learn, ask questions, make mistakes, improve, and keep moving forward. Because one day, you'll look back at that nervous first day and smile, not because it was easy, but because it was the beginning of something much bigger than you realized. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every career starts with the first step. The people who succeed are not the ones who never feel nervous. They're the ones who move forward anyway.